And APB, American Protection Bureau, voted #1 best on Long Island for all your security needs. Call 631-390-9050. That's 631-390-9050. APB.
Bob felt when the Road Warriors fucking beat the living shit out of
Right.
everybody, for real.
Right.
Again, we're
right.
just fans. We only know what we want. I'm watching that video of, Junior beating the shit out of some kid. You know what I mean?
When Bradshaw and Simmons beat the living crap out of Public Enemy, I mean, my God, they beat the shit out of them on the way out the door.
You know what's funny? Mitch Seinfeld told me a story. I heard it really wasn't like that, but we'll talk about that. I want to remind everybody, Jimmy's back in New York on November 7th, 8th. He'll be in studio with me, and then on the 9th, I'm by my studio because he'll be going to see Maiden, and Jimmy will be at the big event. So, we continually to shoot on StreamYard because we've got some producer issues at Tin Mirror, but we're trying to get that worked out. But things are working out fine. All right, let's get to the main subject here. Now, this is going to be dicey, Jimmy. So, and the reason it's going to be dicey is because I think this guy has a lot of people that I don't want to say adore him, but I think they like him.
Okay.
I will tell you that I didn't have a personal problem with this guy until, I don't know, I'd say about the last year, right? And the reason I say that is again, we're not the policemen, we're just fans. But I cannot stand where people just have a fucking agenda, and it's getting worse for me, Jimmy. I got to be honest with you. So I could understand when people get, who are these guys? Like we took heat for the Marty Jannetty stuff, right? I'm calling it like we see it, right? You may not agree with me. We have not discussed this subject together, right? At all.
Well,
fair enough?
Okay, that's fair.
Right?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
I'm going to open up here. Let's talk about the man of the hour, the self-proclaimed wrestling insider, Mario Mancini. From his days as an enhancement talent in the WWF to his countless podcast appearances, Mancini has made quite the name for himself. And not always in the best way. Is he shedding light on wrestling history, or is he just clowning around, Jimmy?
Well, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
You like that write-up, don't you? You like that write-up.
Yeah,
Huh?
Correct me if I'm wrong. We've spoken to Mr. Mancini, have we not?
Mancini's been on the show.
Yeah. Look, I'm not sure where you got the source from, but the fact that people are paying that much attention to him, am I supposed to be surprised?
Wait a minute. You can't help but pay attention to him because he's on every fucking podcast. The guy doesn't even vet anything. He's on every fucking show. It's like I turn on YouTube. It's like special guest Mario Mancini. Not even announced. It's Mario Mancini. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Are his stories consistent?
Well, let's start off with this, all right? For people who are not aware who Mario Mancini is, and that could be quite the case, right, Jimmy? It's not like he's a household name. Let's be fair here, right?
That's true.
So, Mario Mancini has been best known as an enhancement talent for the WWE. During the 1980s and early 90s, Mancini's role was simple. Make the stars look good. There was nothing wrong with that. Everyone has a part to play in the business. Fair enough? But somewhere along the way, Mario's status as an insider became more about the stories he claims to have been part of rather than the actual matches that he participated in. Thoughts on that, Jimmy?
Embellishment. It's a business tactic. We've seen others do that too. Like, I hate to use Dutch Mantel, but Dutch Mantel was nothing more than a mid-carder his entire career, and now he's Mr. YouTube main event because he's got a story to tell about everything. How much truth is in there? Like we'll ever fucking know.
Let me ask you this. As a fan, what do you think the interaction between Mario Mancini and the other wrestlers were really about? Do you think top stars drove around with Mario Mancini?
No. In general, it wouldn't make sense if they did. back then, each subdivision stayed within each subdivision. Is that wrong to say?
Well, he must have wrestled Ted DiBiase in the WWE a kabillion times, right?
Right?
If I remember properly. Do you think Ted DiBiase drove around with Mario Mancini?
No, I wouldn't expect him to. Vince wouldn't expect him to, right? More importantly,
No.
you would
So
not expect that.
I guess my point to you, Jimmy, is this: if you're not driving around with this talent and you're just this enhancement guy, right? You're not going to pay-per-views. Again, they didn't have pay-per-views at certain points, right?
Right?
Um,
Right?
I think he was around for WrestleMania 1, to be honest with you, right? I don't know if he was at WrestleMania 1.
Right?
It clearly wasn't on the card. Um, the issue I have with Mancini is this, Jimmy. Okay. The guy has come out of the woodwork on all these podcasts, and he seems to be the expert about all the dirt that is recently coming out. Look, we all know what's happening with Vince McMahon, and we know the
Mm-hmm.
issues that are going on. And to be
Right?
fair, if anybody listening or watches the show, we're fans of Vince McMahon. That's factual. Okay,
Yep.
so we might be a little Vince McMahon heavy. But
Right?
my issue really started with Mancini was when he came out. Once these podcasts were hitting during this time, he came out uh, and said that Rita Charlton, the referee, who
Mm-hmm.
recently, within the last couple of years, got, I don't know, at least $4 million from McMahon, she claimed Vince had raped her. Okay, but this was way back. And even Vince says on the documentary, if I raped you, I would have been arrested. Rape is illegal, right? They would have
Right?
gotten me, right?
Right?
Mancini makes the claim that Charlton only told two people. She only told Mancini, who I guess she trained with, okay, and Andre the Giant. Neither which at the time said anything to anybody.
No.
So all these years later, now Mancini's on these fucking shows, and all he talks about is how that happened and what happened. And my point, where were you fucking 30 years ago, Mancini, when someone told you they were raped? Because that's what he said she said. Let me ask you this, Jimmy. If someone came to you and you had a job and you're very good at your job and you love your job, but someone came to you and said, the boss just raped me, Jimmy, what would you do?
Well, there's one of two things: either you beat the shit out of the person yourself, or you report it to the police. But you got to convince the girl that that's the right thing to do.
Let me ask you something. At any point, would you say, okay, I'll just take that information and shelve it and just keep doing my job?
No, you can't shelve something like that. Absolutely not. Nor should you.
What normal human being would?
Uh, it's embellishment. Don't you? Let's just cut to the chase. It's embellishment. You know,
So
he
you're saying
probably.
he's lying?
Well, it doesn't make sense to me. I'll say that it doesn't make sense to me. So yeah, it feels like an embellishment more than anything. How does it feel to you? Does it feel like the truth to you?
Well, there's only two ways I look at it. Either he's lying, like you said, which could certainly be the case, right? Or someone told him about a legitimate crime
Well, what about Andre?
and he sat on his hands. Well,
What
again,
about Andre?
here's the thing. Andre the
Oh,
Giant's not here. Andre the Giant can't defend himself. Andre
no,
the Giant never
he
spoke
can't.
about that. Okay.
Right.
And right now, Andre, to me, isn't on trial right now. It's,
Right.
Mancini is on trial on the Monty and the Pharaoh show.
Right.
So my question is like, so if you knew a crime was taking place, because
Right.
they're going to use the old story like Lee Cole would say, oh, well, these guys, they didn't want to lose their job because if they said something, they would
Mm-hmm.
lose their job.
Yeah.
So it's okay to have no morals.
Yeah. No.
I need to understand this.
No.
Make it
It's
clear
not.
to me.
No. It's not okay to have no morals, and it's fucking rape. The end. Should have said something then. The fact that all these years later, now you're saying something that to me is embellishment.
By
That's
the way,
like
Bob
wanting.
Cook has straightened me out. He said the enhancement talent that he traveled with Austin and stuff like that. Bob, You know better than us, so I'm not going to argue with you, bro. So it's all good. Go ahead, Jimmy.
No, I'm just saying, I mean, why would you wait decades and decades and decades to finally say something as important as that? That doesn't make any sense to me.
By the way, there's a guy in there. Leonard in Stara says, Bob, these guys, please. So listen, Leonard, here's the deal. You're probably one of the guys that point the finger at Vince McMahon and say he's all the devil and stuff like that. But when it comes to Mario Mancini, it's all forgiven, right? Because he can know stuff and not do anything about it, right? Because it wasn't his job.
It's a double standard.
It's more than a
Sorry.
double standard, Jimmy. Yeah, you're right. It's a
He's
triple standard.
he's pulling a double standard. He's going to type in his high holier ground, and that's that. And I hope he feels good about himself. I don't give two fucks either way.
He says we have no idea what we're talking about. No, we
No,
do
of course
know what
not.
we talk about because we know about morals, right? If someone came to me and said they were raped, I
Right.
would report it to the police. I
Right.
would make that person report it to the police.
Yeah,
I would lose my job over it. I'd say, yeah, I guess I'm going to lose my job.
Yeah, that's the way it goes. You want to disrespect that, then maybe you should look in the mirror, because you don't just let something like that slide by the boards and then decades later you're getting paid to go and talk about it on the air when the other so-called witness has passed on anyway. What a load. Hey, stop. Why wouldn't we be doubtful considering the circumstances? You're supposed to say something when it's happening. Bob Cook's a stand-up guy. I don't think Bob Cook will keep his mouth shut.
I don't think Bob Cook would either.
I don't think he would.
And this isn't because Bob Cook is a friend of the show. It has nothing
He's just
to do with it.
He's just a good person, and you can tell he's a good person.
Exactly.
I love his faithful.
Here's something else Mancini said. Mancini was on Hannibal's network on, Hannibal has a show, he has other shows, and one's called Cheap Heat. So
another lousy human being, by the way.
Absolutely. Right. But he was on the show Cheap Heat, and this is his comments about the Vince McMahon. This is Mario Mancini talking about Vince McMahon.
Okay.
Right?
Sure.
I'm sorry. Okay. This is his comments about John Cena comments about Vince McMahon. So I'll read Cena's comments, right. John Cena, and then Mario Mancini's response. Okay.
Sure.
I stand by and support Vince McMahon because I love him. He's my friend. And when your friend's back is up against the wall and the shit hits the fan, that's when you find out who your real friends are. I agree. It's an unexpected misfortune, something financially somebody didn't expect. God forbid a physical ailment. Hold on. Sorry. This fucking computer. Some sort of situation that just hit him in the face like a brick and he didn't see it coming. Not when you defecate on somebody's head. Or so I kind of mixed it up. So Cena supported McMahon. Mancini called out Cena for being a fucking piece of shit for standing by Vince McMahon. Not when because Vince McMahon treated Janelle Grant supposedly the way he did.
Right. So John Cena, who's probably never had any sort of personal problems with Vince and is clearly friends with him, should throw him under the bus because it's the fashionable thing to do. I'm not really sure exactly what Mancini wants out of John Cena's mouth other than John Cena's truth as far as John Cena's relationship with Vince. You cannot fucking get angry at somebody because they like someone. This is so typical.
Jimmy, I got to interrupt you now. So the guy thank you, Bob. The guy that I've been saying keeps talking, right? About us.
Sure. I want to keep talking.
I'm being told is Mario Mancini.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I'll ask Mario Mancini, since you're on the chat.
Yeah.
Why didn't you go to the police, Mario? Why didn't you do something about this? Let me go a little bit further. You were around during the Ring Boy scandals. You've also made comments about that.
Right.
Why didn't you do anything about that, Mario?
Right. Ring around the rosy. Here we go.
Because he's fucking fraud.
There's a lot of them.
He's a fraud.
Here's
my message to Mario Mancini. Look at yourself in the mirror, right? So here's the deal. if you decided to keep your job, Jimmy, right? You wanted to keep your job and you were scared of Vince McMahon. I totally get it, right? You got to take care of your family. Totally get it.
Right.
Then keep your mouth shut 30 years later.
Yeah. Don't say anything at all.
Exactly. Shut your fucking mouth.
Don't say anything. You made the decision to say nothing when it counted most, and now you've made the decision to talk about it. And if you don't think that there's dollars, and you're making no sense, by the way, involved in all of this, who do you think you're talking to? I seriously, who do you think you're talking to? You're Mario Mancini, nothing more. Okay? I don't have your picture on my wall, and I barely remembered you
Listen,
during your career.
forget
He
about
wants
it.
to
About his
fuck you right
wrestling.
in.
No
He wants to write
no,
in.
no moral standards, Jimmy.
Yeah,
as a human being, you have no moral standards at all. You let your friend be raped and you didn't call the police?
Right.
You watched young boys being supposedly fondled and you didn't call the police?
Right.
You just sat back. It was okay.
Yeah.
And now you go on every podcast spewing your bullshit?
I don't approve. Not that he cares.
He knows the truth, dude. He knows
It's
the
what
truth.
it is. It is what it is. He'll have to live with it. I don't.
I mean, you want to bring Vince McMahon to court on your little podcast all the time? You bullshit, right? You want to bring Vince McMahon? He's such an evil person. What are you? What are you, bro?
Well, apparently he did just about as much as Mr. McMahon did when it all happened. But here's the difference, though. Mr. McMahon did fire Phillips and Garvin.
Mm-hmm.
He fired them. Did they ever come back, by the way?
No.
No, they never did they? So your misplaced hatred and the fact that you're basically milking the I hate Vince McMahon at all costs community does not impress me or my partner in the least. So enjoy spreading your fingers because your words mean nothing to me. Nothing. I can't add any more than that, Mike. It means nothing to me.
And again, who are we to judge anybody? But here's the mere facts. We're judging you because you're judging other people.
Right.
Again,
right.
I didn't let my friend get raped and do nothing about it.
No.
I didn't let children get touched under my watch and do nothing about it.
Oh, no. I one time saw a crackhead basically assaulting a girl. What do you think happened, Mike?
I'm pretty sure I do know.
Yeah, what do you think happened? I didn't just stand there and go, well, I don't want to lose my position in stature in society, and if I get arrested, I won't be able to go and run the store tomorrow. None of that occurred to me. What I saw was wrong, and I took care of it. And he ate concrete. The end. You don't...
Again,
what?
This is really simple. If you're scared for your job, which is, I could totally get it. I totally understand it. You got to take care of your family. You can't be chirping 30 years later.
Right.
It's a joke. It's an embarrassment.
It is.
Again, you're just not a good human being. I mean, there's really not much to talk about this anymore. I think we've cleared our thoughts about the situation. But Jimmy, I couldn't stand by and watch it anymore. Every fucking time I go on, this guy's on there and he's got something else to say about somebody else and somebody else and somebody else and somebody else. And meanwhile, he doesn't even look in his own house, in his own kitchen and go, what did I do wrong?
Right.
Did you say I'm sorry to Rita that you didn't do anything?
Did you? There it is.
Well, with that, I want to thank everybody for joining us on Thursday night. Eventually, we'll be back in studio. And again, Jimmy is back in New York where we have all our special guests on. And, this was an important subject, and I felt like it had to be handled. Because not any person that had this guy on their show even had to dare ask him that question.
No. Oh,
not even our friend Lee Cole wouldn't even ask that question. He was just on Lee Cole's show.
Well, why?
And Lee knew he was around during that.
Right.
He didn't ask him the question.
Right.
Because the reality of it is, when no one wants to ask these guys these questions because they're better than now. You know what I'm saying?
Of course. The very type that we can't stand and call out on a regular basis. Same as it ever was, my friend. Never change.
Good show.
You
All
got
right.
it.
Anyway, want to thank everybody for joining us. We're sorry we ended on such a sour subject. We thought it had to be discussed. I'm sure people won't be happy with what we have to say, but you know what? This is our opinion. Doesn't mean it's right. Doesn't mean it's wrong. Doesn't mean anything. It's just our opinion. We
Yeah.
stand by what we stand by. We're not perfect human beings at all. We don't claim
Right.
to be perfect human beings. But I will tell you something else. We don't sit there and, start blaming people for a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah,
It's out of control.
and most importantly, as we close out the show, post 9/11, what was the one saying that really should always count? If you see something, say
Say
something.
thank you, Jimmy. Yeah, thank you, son. You know
You,
what? There's more to life than just yourself, right?
yeah, there is.
That's
There
what we're
is.
missing in today's society, Jimmy, is no one
We
cares
are.
about anybody else. They
Right.
just let shit happen all the time.
Yeah,
And
and
then
they'll
they talk
stand.
about it later, what they should have done, what
Yeah.
they could have done. I guess that's why most heroes do wear capes, Jimmy, because there aren't enough of them.
No, there aren't enough of them, and most people now will just take a phone and record the whole thing instead of stopping it.
Right. And then talk about it later, right?
Talk about it later. Yeah. Well, talk is cheap, obviously, and if you see something, say something. You've been watching Monty and the Pharaoh, and until next week, on behalf of my partner, later.